I recently set out on an overnight bikepacking trip that started in Old Fort, North Carolina. I really love Old Fort because it's relatively close to home, and it's also a great jumping off point for gravel roads that take you straight up to the Blue Ridge Parkway. I packed relatively lightly, but I was also expecting rain, so I carried a couple more essentials than I typically would for a summertime ride in North Carolina. This was also my first trip with the Tumbleweed mini pannier rack. I'm a big fan of rack packing, and this newly acquired rack, combined with the Ortlieb gravel panniers, is pretty much a perfect setup, I think. Everything stays in place and also stays completely dry. I've ridden a fair bit in Old Fort, but the goal of this ride, other than just getting out into the woods and having a little bit of fun, was to try to make a nice little loop around Old Fort that's mainly gravel. Obviously, you're going to have to take some pavement away from downtown Old Fort, but the goal of this was to try to make a nice little connecting loop using the new mountain bike trails that were recently installed, and see if I could make a nice little route that stayed off of the main roads. So starting out, there's a little bit of back roads riding, but almost no traffic at all, and then before you know it, you're climbing up on some nice gravel roads. Okay, probably about halfway. Whew, it's hot and humid. Very hot and humid. It's a great trail system though. You wouldn't want to be out here when it's wet. It's some pretty classic clay. But you can see behind me, there's some nice berms and some really nice climbs. So bring your gears. Definitely, it's something coming up here with underweight. But as long as you can spin it and you're self-powered. I just passed an E mountain bike, and it occurred to me that I'm, I guess, the opposite of an E bike, right? I made it heavier and I have to power it. All right, well, it's raining. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it at all. It's okay, it was supposed to rain, and it is a temperate rainforest, but it's honestly not that bad. Definitely cooled things off some, and it's one of those times where it's not even really worth putting on a rain jacket. It's just nice to get refreshed for a little while, and either it'll keep raining or it'll stop. Well, it's raining, and there's a tree. This is mostly hike-a-bike through here. It's wet, and I can't get much traction, and it's fairly steep. And then with the roots, just falling over. So slow going on this section. Well, that is why I've been hike-a-biking for 2 hours or so. I think I have just over a mile to go, like 800 feet left of climbing. Surprised myself, I'll be racing daylight, I think, actually, just getting up here. So it's moving. It's just all the routes. Okay, massive long hike-a-bike from Hartberry Ridge is now over. That took a very long time. All in all, I wouldn't do that again either way, I don't think. Uphill wasn't any fun. Downhill, I don't think I'd enjoy that much either. And I'd say, you know, it's unusually wet, but it's not. Again, temperate rainforest, so I think wet happens a lot. So I think that is just not something I'd prefer to do again. It is doable. And if you love hike-a-biking, I guess it's your thing. It is not my thing. So now I'm on the Parkway. It's gonna feel good to ride a bike again. And I'll be taking this down to Curtis Creek. To be clear, those trails would be great with the mountain bike and not all of my camping gear. While it's not my first bear sighting on a bikepacking trip, it was pretty stunning to stop, go to take a picture of a great vista on the Parkway and look over and see a black bear looking back at me. It's just a reminder of really how fortunate I am, and really anyone who lives along the East Coast through the Appalachian Blue Ridge Mountains, how lucky we all are to live near the Blue Ridge Parkway. It's an amazing place, and every time that I go on it, I can't believe that it's actually this close to me. I'm always sad to leave the Parkway, but on this day I was particularly sad. I was pretty tired from the previous 35 or so miles that I'd ridden. But basically with every, 500 feet of elevation lost from the Parkway, it just got warmer and more humid. And so I really felt like I had a decision to make. I'd planned on camping along Curtis Creek, which is gorgeous, or maybe stopping at the campground. And the farther I got down the road, the more I just really didn't feel like sleeping and sweating all night long. The dew point is too high in western North Carolina most of the time to really sleep without a rainfly, and I didn't feel like waking up soaking wet. My legs felt great still. All in all, it'd been a relatively cool day, and so I just decided that this was going to be an adventure ride instead of a bikepacking trip. Part of me was reluctant to give up on the idea of camping that night, just because I'd set out in my mind that I was going to. But in all, I realized that I'd really accomplished what I'd set out to do. I rode the route, I had a great time, spent a lot of time outside, challenged myself, and by the end of the ride, I was ready to take a break and be done. Alright, a little change of plan. So I got down off the Parkway and it just felt terrible. Too humid, and I realized I didn't have that much farther to go, and I decided might as well just keep on going. So I just came on back here and it turned into an adventure ride instead of bikepacking.